Hi my lovely Frosty fam, it's me, Karen Frost, here at Nail Decadence. Welcome to my channel, welcome one and all. I'm going to be doing an all acrylic sort of, hashtag not to polish set of nails. So these are the colours that I will be using. I mix my own coloured acrylic powders. If you'd like to know how I do so, then check out the link in the cards. That will take you to my video. I've got 2 videos on how I mix my acrylic colours. If you're interested, check those out. But other than that, these are the bits that I'll be using. Various bits and bobs. I'm really loving the maple leaves. I've got 2 different types. You've seen it in other videos. This video I'm using the more chunky, fatter ones. I'm just loving maple leaves. I've got a couple more videos with more maple leaves. I'll just forewarn you now, just so you know, there's more coming. I go through phases, and at this point I was having a phase of maple leaves and loving them. So anyway, there you go. So on to what I'm doing. As usual, I'm using my lovely Handolly. If you're interested in getting yourself a silicone practice hand, check out www.handolly.co.uk. You're welcome to use my code FROST10. It is a affiliate code, just so you know. You don't have to use it, but it will get you some money off. Win-win. I prepared the nails as I normally do, which is to buff the nail tip, which is used as the base nail, attach the tip onto that base nail tip, as it were, blend that in and apply a thin clear base of acrylic on top. And then now, as you can see, I'm working with the coloured acrylic powders. I like to apply my thin clear base for many reasons. One being it stops the natural nail from getting stained from coloured acrylic powders, gives you something to file back to, so that you're not having to file the natural nail over and over to remove the shine. You just file back to that thin clear base, and then all you have to do is prepare the natural nail that's regrown out by the cuticle area. Also, clear is the strongest of the acrylic powders, so it gives you a bit of strength, and sandwiching the coloured acrylics in between, clear on the bottom and clear on the top, gives you a little bit more strength. And I just like how it looks with clear over the coloured acrylic powders. Whatever colour I'm using, I like to apply clear over the top. Even if it's a strength powder, I will still apply clear over the top. Makes the colours last longer. There's loads of reasons, but that's how I work. Just give a little explanation for it. I've got quite a few new subscribers, so just letting you know how I go, because you won't necessarily have watched any of my other videos. Anyway, let's get on with what I'm doing. So as you saw, I did the 2 fingers with the orange coloured acrylic, and now I'm on the ring finger. I'm just applying a thin layer of the coloured acrylics. Like I said, I like to sandwich it in between clear, and I like to use the clear to add my strength, add my apex and stuff. So all I'm doing is adding enough of the coloured acrylic to give a good opaque colour wash. Once I'm finished with that, then I can add some of these maple leaves. I've not picked up any clear to attach these because the coloured acrylic is still wet. I'm just applying the maple leaves straight onto that, and as it dries it will hold those in place. So there was no need for me to apply any clear acrylic to hold those on. And then I'm also applying some of that glitter mix, roasted chestnut it was called. Just picking that up with some Monomer, because that is already pre-mixed with clear acrylic. So just a small amount of that, give it a little swoosh up and down the nail. Then on to the index finger, I'm using the brown and I'm fading that back up the nail because I'm going to do an ombre. So I want to fade that up halfway up the nail, and then I will bring the orange down over the top. Now when you're doing an ombre, it's best to use small beads, well, for me it's better for me to use small beads of acrylic to get my ombre nice and smooth. So I to and fro between the colours, and as you can see, I just take my time with my ombre. Some people can do an ombre with just 2 beads, you know, one of each colour, but for me it works out better if I work in smaller beads and just blend them until I'm happy with the ombre. So yeah, it's up to you how you do it, but this is how I do mine. Again, adding some of those maple leaves, and the acrylic was starting to dry a little bit, so I added a little bit of clear acrylic to hold those in place. Now I will go back to the ring finger. Those maple leaves are now stuck on because the acrylic has hardened, so it's time to cap them. So I will use a slightly wetter bead over the glitter pieces because I want the clear to have good clarity and to really make sure that there are no air bubbles or air pockets around the glitter maple leaf pieces. And this is, like I said before, this is where I build my strength and structure. I will add my apex in at this point. That's where I'll put it in. As you can see, swiping down the sides, trying not to lose the shape too much so that I don't have too much filing to do. Into the cuticle area with that bead, and I sort of tuck the clear acrylic behind the coloured acrylic so that when I file around the cuticle area I don't file away the colour. It's the way I like to do it, and I will check the nail from all different angles and make sure that my apex is there. If not, then I'll add some more acrylic. On to the ring finger, same again, just capping that nail with the clear acrylic, a slightly wetter bead, just working that down the nail as I go. Your finished nail should be no thicker than a credit card at the very free edge area. I find I don't like super thick nails, but I want them to be strong, but the very free edge doesn't need to be any thicker than a credit card. It just makes life harder when you're picking up things if you've got a really thick free edge. So try and keep that credit card thickness after you've filed. So if you give yourself sort of a millimetre's worth of filing in that you can do without going into your colour, that would leave you with a credit card thickness at the end. That's the aim of the thickness you're going for when you're capping. Obviously the apex is thicker than that because that's where your strength needs to be. I always put that in the back third of the nail. So on to the middle finger, and again, same again, just adding that clear acrylic, and you see where I placed it. I placed it in the middle of the nail, but it wasn't quite a big enough bead, so it didn't reach the very free edge. So I'm just going to add a little bit onto the free edge there, blend that back into the previous acrylic, and then make sure that I'm really tapping those sides and the tip of the nail to try and keep the shape as best I can. That way I have less filing to do, which is always a win-win. The application on this set actually went quite well. I didn't have an awful lot of filing to do, but I have included the filing this time for my Frosty filing freaks. I know you guys love it. If you don't, you know, the usual, you can skip ahead when we get to that point. But here I'm adding the cuticle bead and building up my apex. You see I stopped and looked at the nail, turned it sideways, and I looked down the barrel as well. That's how I make sure that the nail is the correct thickness all the way through. But I also compare it to the previous nails to make sure that they're all a similar thickness and a similar width. Again, I'm just smoothing and patting and just controlling that bead as best I can so that I don't lose too much of the shape. You can see how I'm applying the bead. I'm just gently tapping and brushing and smoothing as I go. It's all with the aim of less filing to do. I find it's very easy to over apply acrylic, especially when you're learning. You just apply loads and loads, but all that does is give you a ton of filing at the end. That's not fun. So once I finished that nail, as you saw, I stopped, looked at all of the nails together, and then applied any additional acrylic where I thought it was necessary. And once I'm happy with that, I'll let that set up, and then I'll move on to the filing. Just needed to add a little bit by that cuticle area. You can see I'm sort of tucking it behind that orange, the coloured acrylic. So now it's filing time. Are you a Frosty filing freak? If you're not, please go ahead and skip through to the timestamp in the corner of the screen. But for my Frosty filing freaks, here we go. So I'm starting off with my e-file around the cuticle area. I'm just using a small bit to go around the cuticle area, get that nice and flush to the nail. What you're looking for is a seamless edge, as it were, so that when the nail grows out, there's no lip, there's no ledge, there's nothing to get your hair caught on, there's nothing to feel that you can pick at. You need it flush to the natural nail, but be careful that you're not filing into the natural nail and creating a groove, because that damages the natural nail, and that's how you get rings of fire. So be extra careful and make sure that you're only filing the acrylic, not the natural nail, when you're blending in the cuticle area. Once I'm happy with that, I switched to my hand file. Now I have various different routines in my filing. It all depends on how my fingers are feeling that day. But what I will do is only use one routine per set of nails. That's how you get a uniform set. If you're finding that when you've finished a set of nails that, you know, some are thicker than others, some are wider than others, some are shorter than others, some are flatter than others, your issue could possibly be that you're not using a routine and doing the same thing on each nail. It's also helpful to stop and look often and compare the nail you're working on to the previous nails you've done before, so that's how you get the flow of unity. If you're just focusing on that one nail, trying to get it perfect, you're not comparing it to the other nails, and although that nail may be perfect compared to the other ones, it's not going to look perfect because they're going to look different. You want a family set of nails. They don't have to be absolutely identical, but you want them to be similar, and that's the key to getting a uniform set, is to stop and compare all of the nails together to make sure that they look similar. So once I finished straightening out those side walls with my hand file, I switched to a sanding band on my e-file. There wasn't a huge amount of debulking or anything to do. I didn't apply too much acrylic this time, so it was easy for me to just use my sanding band and just smooth over the surface of the nail. What I'm doing is I'm essentially rounding off the nail, removing those edges that are filed into it by using my hand file. You want to blend that in. You don't want the nail to have corners. You want it to be a smooth curve. So if you're looking down the barrel of the nail, you'll see it should be a very nice semicircle, even on both sides. No edge from where you filed the sidewalls straight. So you want to blend that all in, and of course, you know, you're just rounding everything off. You're just contouring the nail. If you've got too much acrylic on and they're a bit too thick and bulky, or you've got a bit too much on the apex, you probably need a different e-file bit to use. A carbide bit would probably be best, but if your application is quite smooth and isn't too thick, then a sanding band does the job just fine, as you can see, if there's not too much filing to do. I was very pleased that I didn't have to do a ton of filing on this set, but it doesn't always go that way. You know, no one's perfect. We all have our off days. You'll see sometimes I have to use a carbide bit because I have to debulk because I put too much acrylic on. It happens. It's not the end of the world, but it just takes that little bit more time to file it all down. But yeah, you can do this with a hand file as well. Don't forget, you can do a very similar job with just a hand file, but to save my fingers, using the e-file just works better for me. This sanding bit was actually a medium grit, so it left some quite harsh demarcations in the nail. So I'm going to buff over with a buffing block to remove some of them, so that my top coat goes on nice and smoothly, but still has something to stick to. What you don't want is it to be totally smooth, because if there's no scratches in it and stuff, it gives the top coat less to, you know, grab onto. So you don't want it totally smooth, but you do want it to be less scuffed up than what it was with just the sanding band. So just give it a buff over with a buffing block. Not too much, like I said, don't want it totally smooth, but you want it a bit smoother than it was with the medium sanding band. If you use a fine sanding band, you probably wouldn't need to use the buffing block. I've done that many occasions. So yeah, it all depends on what you're doing and how it's going that day. And as you saw, I always go underneath the nails to make sure there's no frills. I hate those little frills underneath the nail that come when you know you're filing. So I always like to remove them because they're just annoying. So Handolly's had a wash with soap and water, and then I use a lint-free wipe with some rubbing alcohol to remove any of the moisturisers that have been got onto the nail from the soap, because soap has moisturisers in it. You want to remove that so that your top coat sticks really well. And then, as you can see, it's time to bling it, baby. I'm doing a very simple design with some crystals using my SPD London diamond gel. I love this stuff, it's great, and I love the little nib. You can be so precise with it, and it actually works at holding the crystals on really well. I use it all the time. You guys have seen it a million times in my videos. This stuff works, it's a dream. I love it. There's no reason for me to use nail glue when I've got the SPD London diamond gel. Love it. What can I say? It's great. As you can see, just a very simple design with some crystals. Nothing too, you know, amazing. Just a little basic design. I didn't know where I was going with the design. I just picked out a load of crystals and stuck them on, and you know, there we go. Play as you go. So I'll flash cure that to hold that in place, because I can give it the full cure when I top coat. So now it's time to top it off and keep it tough. Best part, of course, this is where we see the design come to life and all our hard work has paid off for a pretty set. Well, I think it's pretty, but as you know, it means that we're also at the end of the video. Oh, look at this, look at this. Once I top coat this one, isn't that glitter pretty? And you can see how holographic those maple leaves are. Oh, beautiful. Well, I think it's beautiful. You let me know what you think of this set of nails. But yeah, you know what it means. It means we're at the end of the video. So I would like to say thank you ever so much for coming to my channel, watching this video, spending some of your most precious time with me. I appreciate you ever so much. If you have not done so already, please go ahead and click that subscribe button. Join the Frosty Fam. I'd love to have you. We're a great little family over here. We love to learn. If you have enjoyed this video or it's helped you in any way, shape or form, do please click that like button. It really helps my channel out. And if you feel like it, you are more than welcome to leave me a comment. I'm happy to talk to you. So this is the finished set. I hope you've enjoyed this video, my lovelies. You take care now, and I'll speak to you all again very, very soon. Bye for now. Hello, me again. If you're still here, leave me a maple leaf in the comments section. I want to know if you watched to the end. Let's see how many this time. Just a, you know, little maple leaf in the comments. That's all you need to do. If you don't want to say anything else, just that. Alright, thank you. Take care now, peeps. Bye.
Someday soon, I'm gonna make